Okay, so welcome to the first open call webinar of NGI Search. We will do a number more webinars as well as open calls, as we will mention a little bit later. I would like it that you use the chat for questions until we get to the Q&A, which will be in around about half an hour or so. And if you could mute yourselves until later on when we then poll you, so you can put up your hand in the as one of the features of Zoom, then we can poll you for asking questions verbally, but you can always just also write it in the chat and we'll moderate that somehow. Anyways, I'm Mirko Presser. I work for Aarhus University and I'm also the coordinator of NGI Search. And I'm here with Aurora, who's from the University of Murcia. Aurora, can you say hello?
Hello, nice to see you all.
Good. And also Nina from Funding Box. Hi, Nina.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
So thanks, everybody, for joining, and let's get started. So the agenda, I'll do a little bit of a welcome. Maybe we are so lucky that we're going to get Jorge Gassos from the European Commission to join us, but or somebody else from the Commission who can say a few words about the overall program. If not, I'll cover that. And then we go through the scope of the first open call, specifically the topics that we're looking at. And then what you're going to get out of it if you apply for it and actually succeed, in particular the 10 value-added services. And finally, also talking about the rules of the first open call and any specifics that are there. That should last about 30 minutes. And then for the last 30 minutes, it's up to you to ask us a lot of questions that we will then discuss in the webinar here. So first of all, there is a bigger program around than NGI Search only. And the program is called NGI. And the website is very simply ngi.eu. You can find a lot of material on there, also already running open calls, projects from the past, results from the past, and so on. So I really encourage you to check this out and get into the bigger context. Overall, there have been over 750 projects being funded already in various other projects like NGI Search. As an example, for instance, I put here NGI Pointer. So if you can go to the website ngipointer.eu, you can find examples there. But in here we have projects such as, for instance, project related to Cyan, which is more like network architecture oriented, or you have another example, for instance, LibreSoc, which is actually also present here with Luke and David, as well as Toshan. They were involved in this project. So there's also repeat offenders that come to the open calls that are in the NGI for various sort of topics. But all of those projects, like NGI Pointer, for instance, was very specifically targeting what was largely referred to as internet architecture. NGI Search then focuses on a different topic, and that topic is now search, discovery, and indexing, which is, again, you know, a very broad set of technologies that we can work with. So if we look at that, so search is then similarly constructed as many of the projects in the NGI, which is they're running what is called open calls. So in NGI Search, we specifically run 5 open calls, looking for talented researchers, innovators, or developers, activists in the context of search, discovery, and indexing in a human-centric context. So this human-centric context is the NGI context. If you're looking at NGI overall, it's looking at privacy and trust as central thematics across all of the developments that we're doing. Also, open source is a very important aspect of that as well, providing choice in terms of internet technologies in a wider context. And search then is specifically about search, discovery, and indexing. Apart from looking for talent and offering funding for that talent in 5 different open calls. Now we will talk about the first open call here. We then offer a customized mentoring and added value service program, let's say. So this, when you get funding, or if you get funding, you get a 12-month program of which will be sort of 3 milestones that you will go through that we define jointly with you. And you will be offered sort of 10 added value services that we'll present to you a little bit later on that you can pick and mix from. So this is something about technology development. It's maybe something about licensing choices, and it could be something about business development or beta testing. And we'll show you this as well. So you also get something on the journey for each one of your projects. Another part that we would like to achieve as NGI Search as a project is to integrate everybody that participates into the wider NGI community. So I already mentioned there was about 750 projects that were already funded. There is a number of projects around like NGI Search. There are newer projects coming up as well that are slightly different to the open call projects. They still have open calls, but they do a lot of infrastructure development. So we have a sister project to NGI Search that is called openwebsearch.eu. So you can check that one out as well. Just in principle, openwebsearch.eu wants to build a web index. Like for instance, Google uses a web index for search. It wants to make an open version of that and make that accessible for various purposes, including building applications on top of the data. So we want to integrate you into this community, joint events with our partner projects. There's often also a yearly event called the NGI Forum, as well as other activities where we coordinate across the different projects, and you can find your peers and colleagues and exchange ideas and activities. The final part that we want to work with is to synergize also with some national, regional, and international activities. So we usually have a good relationship, for instance, to the IGF, the Internet Governance Forum, but also various sort of standardization groups where we have contributed in previous projects as well. And of course, I'm really sorry to my project partners. I should also mention that we consist of 5 partners in the project, Aarhus University, which I represent, and also I think Rita is in the call. She's also part of Aarhus University. We together run the project. We have Funding Box, who are experts on the open calls and managing all of this activity. A very experienced group of people there. We have Linknovate that help us find the talent and work also with finding jury members that can evaluate open calls and so on. We have OW2, which is a member-based organization working out of France, but has very close ties to other national bodies as well that are similar, and who we're working with on the community and the dissemination side. And then, of course, our colleagues from Murcia, who have been working on various elements of technologies around search and discovery, in particular on machine-based systems and IoT in particular. The total budget of the project is 8.5 million euros, of which 6.8 million is allocated for the open calls, and the rules will be discussed by Nina a little bit later. Time frame is from September, so a few months ago that we started, and we will run until 2025 in August. And during that time, we'll have the 5 open calls and also have to complete them and the URL. So then that leads us to the first open call topics. So these are not the topics for all 5 open calls, but the topics of the first open call. And we have selected 6 topics, well, 5 topics and one that is quite open, let's say. And we believe those topics are representing more technological focused projects. So we want to have technology projects predominantly in those calls, less maybe research focused, but more technological emphasis. And I would like to invite Aurora to do a quick presentation of the topics, please.
Yes, I will delve a little bit into each of them. So yeah, those are intelligent voice-based assistants, natural language processing, semantic analysis, social computing, data visualization, and new ways of discovering and accessing information. Please, Mirko. Yeah, thank you. We look for improvements for intelligent voice-based assistants. this one probably is the one you deleted. Did you delete one previous slide, Mirko? Maybe, yeah. Okay, I just okay. I was making like an introduction on what saying that voice-based assistants are used for routinary tasks, and they can also have positive social influences, such as suggest to do some physical activities to decrease depression and so on. So, but as familiarity increases with this voice assistant, people will require more complex tasks, and this will require the addition of intelligence to it. So it's not only for domotics anymore to turn on and off the lights, but maybe to ask for advice on certain activities to do with the family on a vacation, or to start a new hobby. So in this way, we want to improve the existing technology, and some options you can see in this slide, some options that we have come up with for improving the current existing technologies that are making them context aware. That means that we change the answer that they give depending on the device we're speaking to, the time of the day, the place, the geolocalization. So tense sensitivity, geolocalization awareness, and the integration with other real-time metrics. We look for including mixed modal interactions, where the input and the output can be also not only voice, but also images, sounds, documents, anything really. And then, well, of course, to add some privacy concerns with regards to if the assistant takes into account what is your current situation, they will not deliver certain kind of private information. Some other examples can be multilingual searches, or identifying the tone in the query. So it's the improvements we're looking for are on that sense. Please, next slide. And yes, the next topic is the widely known natural language processing. NLP methods use huge amounts of previously accumulated user requests for predicting the search outputs without taking into account user's intention. Also, NLP models complexity is increasing, and therefore it's becoming not really sustainable in the way that they require resources, including energy, to function. The state-of-the-art models, they assume that each device would have full access to powerful processors, to the cloud, the generous memory. So the challenge that we have come up with consists of developing simpler and more sustainable NLP practices and research. So, for example, devices or the processing capacities of IoT devices, in order not to depend on the cloud for data analysis and sending data to the cloud and process it there. Federated NLP can address the concerns on data privacy by sharing the parameters of the model instead of the data. And also NLP models need to be able to interpret social media data and to exploit the relations between demographics, language use, and social interaction when we realize a query. So these are more or less the focuses. Next slide, please. The next topic is semantic data analysis. The integration of semantic data can generate a common representation of concepts and their relations, right? That they can form on the form of ontologies. Those ontologies help in the integration of heterogeneous data that is present in nowadays applications. The information about the subject or a topic might be spread on across different data sources. So there exists the need of a uniform methods that help analyze, access, and integrate the information and the knowledge. So some challenges to be addressed in the field are the search of dynamic relations between concepts but using fresh data, the data that has just been generated, to minimize query execution, while at the same time maximizing the completeness of an answer based on federated principles that I already mentioned. And federated query processing techniques can help integrate data from autonomous, distributed, and heterogeneous sources in a uniform way. Next slide, please. Then we have social computing. Social computing are all the systems that support the use of information, gather it, represent, process, disseminate results, everything, and that are distributed across social collectivities such as communities, markets, organizations. So the interaction between social behavior and technologies needs to be considered and addressed in order to reach substantial changes in the behavior of the adopters. When technologies have required interaction with humans, we have to motivate and encourage their participation, and at the same time enhance the learning process. So we think that the implementation of edge social computing by means of context-aware learning, collaborative learning, and other proposals in this direction will be very beneficial. Next slide, please. The fifth topic is on data visualization. We all know how important visualization is to engage with the results of a project, with the explanation of an algorithm, the proof of concept, and so on. So information visualization, human-computer interaction, machine learning, those fields are joining efforts to create data visualizations. So in that sense, we are looking for interactive solutions, tools that allow visualization for query results, and that can provide user recommendations and support user-driven actions for all kinds of scalable and efficient solutions. For example, visually driven analysis of all kinds of data, spatiotemporal, textual, and other example could be progressive and intuitive visualizations in batches. Please, next slide. And finally, we have proposed, as Mirko was saying, a general topic to make sure nothing is left behind in the new ways of discovery.
I think we just lost Aurora for a second. You rejoined just now, Aurora.
Sorry. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Sorry about that. So nothing. We want to make sure nothing is left behind in new ways of discovering and accessing information. Given the development of the IoT deployments and the variability, volumes, and all the V's of the big data, of the new data sources, all the mechanisms for searching and interpreting data are essential to leverage the knowledge, to leverage the information, and to create automatic services. So for this challenge, we can receive algorithms and methodologies to discover and access information by combining big data technologies. Explainable AI could be also introduced in this topic. So in general, to leverage the technologies and the IoT data access, the access of the information in different ways. And yeah, those are all the topics. I hope you resonate with some of them and that you find them attractive.
So in the meantime, I think maybe we should already take that one question from France Labs. There was one that topic 4 was quite fuzzy. If we could have some more examples on here. Aurora, can I put you on the spot?
Yeah, we try to leave it open, to be honest, and it can go. I don't have particular examples. Let me see.
Yeah, so there's a bit more specific question now from.
Yeah, I see.
Here. But I think we'll take that later. I think we'll carry on and take that later if that's okay.
I have posted the potential examples in the chat, but it is just examples, I mean.
Something else. So I think we'll take that a little bit later. Also, the question on privacy and trust that was also posed earlier on, I will address a little bit later. So let's move on for now. So we're getting to the benefits. So why would you apply for it? I mean, predominantly, I presume that you want freedom through funding. This is equity-free funds that we provide, so we don't take anything away from you. All of the innovations and development work belongs to you afterwards. But we do have requirements, such as, for instance, that that it will be in an open source development that you do, even if it's open core, and you only do the open source development within the project. But we'll get to that also a little bit later. And then you can also get access, of course, to the 10 services provided during 1 year, and you can pick and mix and spar with your mentor on your developments also, and join a larger community, get visibility, and so on. So let's get to these added value services. And I think I will ask very briefly, each one of the organizations that takes a lead on, just to say 2 words about it. You can read about those, of course, also in the documentation that we provide, and we'll work with you when you get onboarded to learn a lot more about this now. But maybe very briefly. So Aurora, it's still you. Do you want to just say 2 words?
Well, yes, about our advice or about our mentoring. As you said before, we have experience on developing tools and mechanisms for search and discovery based on artificial intelligence, on machine learning. So we would provide this kind of mentorship, also recommending several platforms and software, depending, of course, on the project that is targeted.
Thanks. And Pierre, do you want to say something about beta testing and links to standards and foundations?
Yes, concerning beta testing, I will be very quick. We have a beta testing platform which we obtained from a European project some time ago, and we still run and execute it at OW2. So it's simply a place to put a beta testing scenario with some documentation, and then when the user is done, you can. There is a questionnaire to gather returns from the beta testing, and also we are able to set up to some extent a kind of small granting for beta testers, like they can receive little small sums, like maybe 30 to 60 euros if it's a quick testing. I mean, if they work 1 or 2 hours. But this is not our main added value. OW2 is also a foundation with many. First, we are well known in the European open source ecosystem, so we have many links with other associations, foundations, and many organizations. So it's a community, and we can promote the project inside the community and beyond. And we are also providing some support that can be, here it is presented like some kind of legal help on licensing, but it's more than that. We are a foundation with just a little bit like Eclipse or Apache. We have an infrastructure, we can host and promote projects. So we can also consider a NGI Search project like a kind of incubation project at OW2, and promote it the same way we promote other projects, with some marketing, some events, and so on. So we have to discuss that, of course, with the teams after, when the projects are selected.
Yeah, thanks. There was actually a question related to this. So you do not have to pre-plan which added value services you want to use in your projects. This will be done in the conversation when we onboard you, what makes sense, and we can change it also during the work that you perform, that suddenly you require something new or something becomes obsolete. We will be very flexible in that sense. So these were sort of the technical services. Then we get to, if I can switch, business. So we have market readiness.
Yes, in fact, what we call market readiness program is a technology, is a framework that we have developed, that we host, and that we run at OW2. We run it currently on our mature projects, but it can be reused on any open source project. And it is twofold. There is a part which is a kind of surveys. I mean, we have a kind of questionnaire that we discuss with that we propose to both the technical and the marketing on the market teams. So we have an overview of the project globally. If there's some, for example, if there's a code. I mean, a GitLab or something, an issue tracker, if there are tests, if there are releases, that kind of metrics. There are also some market metrics like providing commercial support and so on. And the other part is technical. So we have some tools running to analyze the quality of code, for example, a scan code for the licensing, a Sonar Cube for code quality analysis, that kind of tools. We also bring some metrics from the bug tracker. For example, how long a bug remains open, the percentage of open bugs. Okay, and we gather all these indicators, and we compute a kind of average, which is between 0 and 9. 1 and 9, I think. It's the same spirit than NASA's TRL. So we give a global quotation with some details that you can dig into to tell if a project is ready for professional usage or not, and at which level, in fact.
So Pierre, there was a quick question: is that OW2 doing, or is it the project doing this calculation or this evaluation?
As of now, for the projects we have, it is OW2 because we dig in the code that is either on our own GitLab, and also we have some projects on GitHub. So we can ask the APIs from GitHub's bug tracker and bring back some data. If you have your own Sonar Cube, we can also connect to it. So we have some projects with almost everything outside of OW2, but with the computation done at OW2. Probably the platform will also be used. We have an agreement for that with the French DNUM, which is the French government digital agency, the CIO from the French state, I mean. And this agreement, they will use the platform. So I think it's a mix. They will use our APIs, so they can use the platform at OW2, but probably they also will host it on premises.
Okay,
so I
thanks.
think
Thanks, Pierre. Just keeping an eye on the time, I think we need to move on. Nina, pitch training, literally 2 words now.
So in Funbingos, we have expert people, training people that are organizing workshops to each group of winners to learn how to better pitch their solutions for the end users, in investors, for the jury days, for the final events, and so on. Usually very useful.
Great. And AU provides also business modeling and coaching services for those that would like to move into commercial solutions in some way or another through various means. On the innovation side, we have OW2 with open source licensing.
Yes, we can provide some insight about licensing, and also help you choose the right license, or help you check the license compatibility in your stack. And also, I see the slide mentions our OW2 conference, the annual conference that we run in June in Paris. So we can also include some projects in one of our workshops, or even propose talks to. I mean, the call for paper is open, so I can also copy it on the chat.
Yes, please. So thanks, Cedric. Thanks, Pierre, and Pierre-Yves. And then I would like to ask Manuel, you're there, market landscape and research.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yep, thank you.
All right. So just a couple of sentences about this. Linknovate, we are a startup. So come to me if you need any advice or you need anything related to startup advice. I imagine most of you are going into this venture for the first time, so you can come talk to us. And regarding market landscaping and research, basically what we try to do here is help you with your competitive landscape. So we do an aggregation of multiple data sources. So we are in our own way, we are in the search and discovery space. And we try to provide a mini report on the topics, on the niche topics where your venture is working on. So for example, cognitive search, is a new buzzword in the space. We can help provide a mini report on which actors are active in that space, both from the corporate side and from the startup and academic side. Most of you that come from the academic side will have a very good market landscape in terms of academic research, but not so much industry research like patents, trademarks mentioned in the news, and vice versa. Both of you coming from the private side will not have such a good market research in the academic side. So we try to help you with this asymmetry of information, basically. Thanks.
Thank you. Then we have one more time, Murcia.
So for open science advice, we will provide mentorship on open science practices. For example, as regards with data, make sure that it follows the FAIR principles, such as it's findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, and also including like reproducible research practices, so that given access to the data, the software of the code, the results can be reused and repeated. And also, well, in general, like open research data philosophy that includes transparency, sharing, collaboration, and the promotion of diversity and unbiased results in general.
Thank you. And then last but not least, Nina.
Yeah, in Funding Bugs, we have already very well established strategies on how to produce the content, offer, and properly disseminate and showcase your projects along the program. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. So then, Nina, I think you want to continue with this, right?
Sure. Yeah. So a little bit more or less about the open benefits, because it was already covered, but I would just run through it. So it's joining the NGI Search program with a duration of up to 12 months, then receiving funding of up to 50,000 if the applicant is a natural person applying under benefit, or up to 150 if the applicant is applying as an organization. The maximum funding per project cannot of 150,000 cannot be exceeded, no matter the size. The upper funding limit of 50,000 per natural person also remains, no matter if they apply independently within the consortium or across the several consortium. And also the option to receive the technical business and innovation mentoring that was discussed previously, provided by the partners. On the eligibility criteria, so here, like most of our successful applicants have carefully read our guide for applicants, as well as our frequently asked questions. So before submitting their application, so please make sure that you do the same to get closer to the successful application. So we're calling for individuals or organizations looking to change the way users search and discover on the internet within the the European values of openness and transparency, privacy, and trust in mind. We are looking both for natural persons and organizations, natural persons who are the residents of the EU member states or in a Horizon Europe associated countries, or organizations officially just registered in the EU member states or in the Horizon. Both of these things are listed under the section eligibility criteria in guides for applicants, so you can check if if you're eligible, the country where you're coming from. We also accept consortia of natural persons and consortia of organizations, or consortia of natural persons and organization. The limit here is 3 members per team, though. So there will be 4 stages of evaluation process: eligibility criteria, minimum quality criteria, external evaluation, and consensus meeting. And finally, if and when you get selected, you will be signing the grant agreement, which, so by signing the grant agreement, the sub-grant agreement, the beneficiary declares that it meets the eligibility conditions for the participation in the program, as defined in the NGI Search guide for applicant and the form as well. SGA draft can also be viewed on the official OpenCall microsite, like right now. Next slide, please. This is when you hit the apply button. So first of all, you will have to sign up to create your user on the Funnybugs platform, and then you can start your application. That's all here. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit more about the form itself. So the application process is fully online. You can also save your application in a draft and come back later. There is no paperwork at this stage. As you can see, the red stars, each field is compulsory to fill out, and the submit button will only appear once you complete the whole field. So all fields need to be filled out within the form. You will be able to export the application as the PDF, but only before the submission. So once you've submitted your application, this feature won't be possible anymore. Don't really ask me why is that so. It is right now, but yeah, just be careful to if you want to export it before hitting the submit button, or you can also delete the application. We'll also prepare the instructions. It's like a step-by-step 1-pager or 2-pager available on the OpenCall site, where you have all the steps of the process listed. And this here, like the most important note probably, is that you can submit only 1 proposal for the NGI Search OpenCall, this first OpenCall. If more than 1 proposal is identified, only the first proposal that has been created will be evaluated. So please make sure that you delete any possible old versions of your application that you might have created before. Next slide, please. I think that's it, right, on my side. Oh, no, it says, sorry. Yeah. So these are just the little tips that you can add a contributor to the application submission page. It's very easy on the upper left corner. Please mind the deadline. So make sure you submit your application before the deadline, a little bit more before even. Fill all the fields. So submission will only be possible if you fill out all the fields in the form. As I said already, only the first proposal which will be evaluated, and you can add it. So you can edit your application and all the fields before the deadline, even after the submission. So you can submit it, but still edit it. And this is only possible before the deadline, of course. And if you need any help with anything, we have a dedicated email, ngisearch@fundingbugs.com, and we've opened also the official OpenCall help desk. I will paste the link in the chat. So here's a help desk where you can raise all your questions, and we will get back to you there like in a bit. So feel free. The help desk is under the NGI community, the one that Mirko was telling you about before. So yeah, that will be it.
Maybe one more point to the form. You are allowed to upload a PDF file as part of the submission. Everything else is form-based, so it's so to speak formless. So you can't add pictures or tables. So you're just you have text fields. The PDF is not the main application. It's to support the main application. So if you want to have a picture included, or if you need a table to explain something, this is where you can put that. We don't expect that you spend a lot of time making a very beautiful PDF document. This is really just support. Right, so let's move on to some more important notes. This is sort of to wrap things up a little bit, because I think there might be some questions coming on this one as well. So conflict of interest, we're taking this very serious. We've had in previous projects experience with working with conflict of interest, that we've had applicants that were too close to some of the project partners. And we are very aware of conflict of interest, but we also want to manage it in a meaningful way. So a conflict of interest is if we have a direct or obvious gain from funding a specific project. So we've discussed this, for example, with a membership organization like OW2, or being already a member on the Funding Box platform. This is not a conflict of interest unless there is some significant exchange of value between those organizations. Conflict of interest could be that we're already working, for instance, together in a project, or we have other business relationships that are reliant on performance, or have other influences where we can gain from each other's decision-making or evaluation. So just keep that in mind. If you're in doubt, you can always ask a specific question. Then the other point is minimum quality criteria and scope. So each project, before it goes to an external evaluation, will be looked at from a minimum quality criteria and from a scope perspective. Now, if we start with scope, we are extremely broad in our call. Search, discovery, and indexing is a big topic, and the subtopics that we selected are also, to a large degree, deliberately fuzzy, as it was already put into the topic. So most things will be within scope. However, there are certain aspects of it that we need to have covered. So the project as a minimum quality criteria must be open source, minimum open core, and it needs to be real working code that is in a deployable state. So we like projects that already exist and build upon something that exists, because we can't expect anybody to pull something out from scratch within the first 12 months, although we've also seen that. We want to have developments that are relevant in a broader context. So if you, for instance, have a very narrow specific project that we want to work on that only serves a specific purpose only, contributing to one commercial platform or one already working system, and doesn't have a wider applicability, we will probably not like those projects. But it doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions to that, if it solves a very specific problem, for example. But we like it that the development that you're doing is open source and applicable it has to be open source, and that it's applicable in a wider context. We also demand that you have one of the other minimum quality criteria. One could be a real demonstration. So this is about the deployable state of the code, but that is also demonstrated in a showcase, looking at a new concept, or presenting a minimum viable product, or a business context, and so on. Second point is that you contribute to standards or larger communities. So if you have a specific contribution to the Linux community, adding something to the Linux kernel always a nice thing to have. Or that you're working on a specific standard, for example, in W3C or something like that. And you can demonstrate that you have a track record or a plan towards that community. The final one as an option is that you have and can demonstrate a collaboration between various layers of developers on this technology. So entrepreneurs, technology geeks, researchers, socially engaged persons, something between, for instance, business and deep technology, or various markets. Applying one solution in a new field could be a possibility, and so on. So this is also an option that you can follow. So the second one, I think you can definitely find one that you can tick off. If you tick all three, even better. So these are something to take in mind when you are writing an application. And I think that's it. So there are some links here that you can access to get directly to the open calls. The call closes on the 1st of February 23 at 5 o'clock Central European time. If you come 1 minute too late, you will not be accepted for the open call. Even if there are major technical issues, I think in the past we've also rejected that. You have the time to submit versions before that. So please don't leave it to the last minute. Bye-bye.